I'm back. Trouble as Alright, you should be able to hear me just fine. Hopefully I'm coming through okay. I don't want to have to shout. I'm getting a microphone arm. That should hopefully work to address some of the audio problems there are in uh, audiobook series. And I'm also working on getting a camera, so this problem that we flags should be going the way of the dodo very soon. But frankly, I am done and a half with all the technical problems and that's the main. I got that camera and why I got that mic arm. So that way I heard and seen, even if I have 0 viewers. Still go back and watch my VODs. It will be a better having for not waste any time because oh, Ernesto, by the way, or Ernesto, in uh, hiatus on TikTok is up. Basically, if I do not reach 100 views, I go on 3-day grace period where I do not post any. But when I come off of that 3-day grace, I will give, I think, a dedicated video. My friend Ernesto that I met. I think he'll be first video I have back on TikTok. Piano stream, a piano video dedicated to Ernesto. That way I have a way of proving to him what I said, that I am a level player. I told him pretty much that I was not very proficient at improvisation, although I am an level player. If I improve my skill dramatically, what I might do is start to my piano stream. Maybe Twitch, maybe TikTok. I could just like rattle off songs like I used. I had like, I don't know if you guys can remember. I'd be able to find the VODs on Twitch. But I used to be able to go in and play 15, 20 songs in a row as a piano stream. I used to take some requests too. But what I'm saying is that I need a bunch more skill. I just got done practicing uh, the piano songs that I will want to showcase. Um, I don't want to, I guess, ruin if I'm sorry if I'm trying. All my time spent practicing is going directly into uh, learning the songs, practicing the songs that I don't spend nearly as much time on my repertoire anymore. Yeah, if I get to the point where I feel really comfortable with my repertoire, if I have a big enough burst in skill, I might bring back the PA. But without further ado, let's dive into the why we are here, the book. As principles, we find ourselves in. Use feedback to your advantage. Feedback is the breakfast of Ken Blanchard and Spencer Johnson, co-authors of the One. Once you begin to take action, you'll start getting feedback about whether you're doing the right thing. Get data, advice, help, suggestions, correction, and even criticism that will help you constantly adjust and move forward while continually enhancing your knowledge, abilities, attitude. Asking for feedback is really only the first part of the equation. To receive feedback, you have to be willing to respond to it. There are two kinds of feedback. Two kinds of feedback you might encounter: negative and positive. tend to prefer the positive, that is, results, praise, a raise, a promotion, satisfied customers, awards, happiness, inner peace, intimacy, pleasure. Feels better. Tells us that we are on course, that we're doing the right thing. Tend to not like negative. Lack of results, little or no money, criticism, poor evaluations, being passed over for a raise or promotion, complaints, happiness, inner conflict, loneliness, pain. However, there is as much useful in negative feedback as there is in positive feedback. It tells us that we are off course, wrong direction, doing the wrong thing. It's also valuable information. Bill and hate. Sorry if I missed. In fact, it's so valuable that one of the most useful projects you can undertake is how you feel about negative. I like to refer to negative feedback as information about improvement opportunities. The world is telling me where and how I can improve what I'm doing. Here's a place I can get better. Here's where I can correct my behavior to get even closer to what I want. More money, more sales, promotion, better relationship, better grades, or more success on the athletic field. Reach your goals more quickly. Welcome, receive, embrace all the feedback that comes. On course, off course, on course, off course. There are many ways to respond to feedback. Closer to your stated objectives, and some of which don't. Or take you even further from your goals. When I conduct trainings on the success principles, I illustrate by asking for a volunteer from the audience, far side of the room. Volunteer represents the goal I want. My task is to walk across the room standing. If I get to where he is standing, I've successfully reached my goal. I instruct the volunteer to act as a generating machine. Every time I take a step, on course, if I'm walking directly toward him, off course if I'm walking even the slightest bit off to either side. Then I begin to walk very slowly toward the volunteer. Every time I take a step directly toward him, the volunteer says, on course. Every few steps I purpose, you're off course. The volunteer says, off course. I immediately correct my direction. Every few steps I veer off course again and then correct it again. Response is off course feedback. After a lot of zigzagging, I person hug for volunteer. I ask the audience to tell me which feedback the volunteer gave more often, on course or off course. The answer is always off course. And here's the interesting part. I was off course more than I was on course. Still got there. By continually taking action and constantly adjusting to the feedback. The same is true in life. All we have to do is start to take action and respond to the feedback. That diligently enough, long enough, for our goals and achieve our dreams. Ways of responding to feedback don't work. Though there are many ways you can respond to feedback, some responses simply caving in and quitting. 1. As part of the seminar exercise I described above, I will repeat the process of walking toward my goal. However, in this round, I will purposely veer off course. And when my volunteer keeps repeating off course over and over, I break down and cry. I can't take it anymore. Life is too hard. I can't take all this negative criticism. I quit. How many times have you or someone you know received feedback and simply caved in? All that does is keep you stuck in the same place. Of course, it's easier not to cave in when you receive feedback if you remember that feedback is simply information. It as correctional guidance instead of criticism. Look at the automatic pilot system on an airplane. The system is constantly telling the plane that it has gone too high, too low, too far to the right, or too far to the left. The plane just keeps correcting in response to the feedback it is receiving. It doesn't all of a sudden freak out and break down because of the relentless flow of feedback. Stop taking feedback so personally. Just information designed to help you adjust and get your goal a whole lot faster. 2. Getting mad at the source of the feedback. Once again, I will begin walking toward the other end of the room while purposely veering off course, causing the volunteer to say off course. Over. This time, I put one hand on my hip, stick out my chin, point my finger, and yell, "Bitch. All you ever do is criticize me. So negative. Why can't you ever say anything positive?" Think about it. How many times have you reacted with anger and hostility towards someone who's giving you feedback that was genuinely? All it does is push the person in the back away. Ignoring the feedback. For my third demonstration, imagine me putting my fingers in my ear, admittedly walking off course. I might be saying off course, but I can't hear anything because my fingers are in my ears. Not listening to or ignoring the feedback is another response that doesn't work. We all know people who tune out everyone's point of view but their own. They're simply not interested in what other people think. They don't want to hear anything anyone else has to say. The sad thing is, feedback could significantly transform their lives if only they would listen and respond. So as you can see, when someone gives you feedback, there are three possible reactions. One, crying, falling apart, giving in, and giving up. Two, getting angry at the source of the feedback. Three, ignoring the feedback. Crying and falling apart is simply ineffective. You temporarily release whatever emotions you up in your system. It takes you out of the game. It immobilizes you. It may stop the flow of negative feedback, but it doesn't get you the information you need to reach your goal. You can't win in the game of life if you're not on the playing field. The person giving you the feedback is the source of the valuable feedback. Attack back or simply away. Is that it temporarily make you better, but that doesn't help you become more successful. In my advanced trainer program, everyone knows the other participants fairly well. I have the whole group stand up around and ask, if possible, the following question: how do you see me limiting myself? Doing this for 30 minutes, people sit down and record heard. This would be hard to listen to for 30 minutes, but it is such valuable feedback that people are actually grateful for the opportunity to become aware of their limiting beliefs and behaviors, and replace them with more effective beliefs and behaviors. Everyone then develops an action plan. Feedback is simply information. You don't have to take it personally. Welcome it and use it. Intelligent and productive response is to say, thank you for your feedback. Caring enough to I appreciate it. Willing to ask for feedback. People will not voluntarily give you feedback. They are as uncomfortable with possible confrontation. They don't want to hurt your feelings. They're afraid of your reaction. They don't want to risk your disapproval. So to get honest and open feedback, you're going to need to ask for it. Safe for the person to give it to you. In other words, don't shoot the messenger. Argue with them. A powerful question to ask your family, friends, and colleagues is, me limiting myself? I think that the answers would be hard to listen to, but most people find the information so valuable that they're grateful for what other people tell them. Armed with this new feedback, you can create a plan of action for replacing your limiting beliefs and more effective beliefs. Most people are afraid to ask for corrective feedback because they're afraid of what they're going to do. You're better off knowing the truth than not knowing the truth. You know what you can do about it. You cannot fix what you don't know is broken. You cannot improve your life, your relationships, your game, or your performance without feedback. To avoid asking for feedback, you're the only one who is not in on the secret. The other person has usually already told their spouse, their friends, their parents, their business associates, and other potential customers that what they are dissatisfied with. That should tell you, they should be telling you, but they are unwilling to do so for fear of your rejection. As a result, you're being deprived of the very thing you need: your relationship, your product, your service, your teaching, your managing, or your parenting. Two things to remedy this. First, you must intentionally and actively solicit feedback. Ask your partner, your friends, your colleagues, your boss, your employees, clients, your parents, your teachers, your students, and your coaches. Second, you must be grateful for the feedback. Not get defensive, just say thank you for caring enough to share that with me. Remember, feedback is a gift that helps you become more effective. Grateful for it. Get your head out of the sand and ask. Then check in with yourself to see what fits for you and put useful feedback in action. Take whatever steps are necessary to improve the situation, including changing your own behavior. Most valuable question you may ever learn. In the 1980s, a multi-millionaire businessman taught me a question that radically changed my quality of my life. The only thing you get out of reading this book is the consistent use of the question in your personal and business life will have been worth the money and time you've invested. So, what is this magical question that can improve the quality of every relationship you're in, every product you produce, every service you deliver, every meeting you conduct, every class you teach, and every transaction you enter into? Here it is. Scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the quality of our relationship, service, or product during the last week, 2 weeks, month, quarter, semester, or season? Here are a number of variations on the same question that have served me well over the years. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the meeting you had? He is a manager. He is a parent. He is a teacher. Class. This meal. My cooking. Our sex life. Deal. His book. Any answer less than a 10. Follow-up question. What would it take to make it a 10? Where the valuable information comes from. Knowing that a person is dissatisfied is not enough. Knowing in detail what will satisfy them gives you the information you need to do what is necessary to create a winning product, service, or relationship. Make it a habit to end every project, meeting, class, training, consultation, installation, and consultation with the 2 questions. Make it a weekly ritual. Ask my wife these same 2 questions every Sunday night. Here's a typical scenario. How would you rate the quality of our relationship this past week? 8. What would it take to make it a 10? My bed at the same time with me 4 nights a week. Come in for dinner on time or call me and tell me you're going. Sitting here waiting and let me finish a joke I am telling without interrupting and taking over because you think you can tell it better. Put your dirty laundry in the clothes hamper instead of in a pile on the floor. Ask my assistants this question every Friday afternoon. Here is one response I received Friday. 6. Whoa. Take to make it a 10. Supposed to have a meeting. Go over my quarterly review. But it got pushed aside by other matters. Makes me feel unimportant and that you don't care about me as much as other people around here. The other thing is that I feel you are not using me enough. I feel that you are not using me. You're not delegating anything but the simple stuff to me. I want more responsibility. Trust me more with important stuff. The job has become boring and uninteresting. More of a challenge. Not easy to hear, but it was true and it led to 2 wonderful results. It helped me delegate more important stuff to her and thus cleared my plate, giving me more free time. It also created a happier assistant who was able to serve me and the company better. It pays to ask. When Mark Victor Hansen and I decided to compile stories for Chicken Soup for the African American Soul, I asked Lisa Nichols, co-authored the book with us. Lisa was the co-founder and CEO of Motivating the Teen Spirit, which started to empower teens to fall madly in love with themselves in recent. Sorry, I read that wrong. She started to empower teens to fall madly in love with themselves. In recent years, she has expanded her mission to include people of all ages because she believes all of us deserve to fall in love with the person we see in the mirror every morning. Lisa later went on to have a role in the movie The Secret and has authored several books of her own, including No Matter What and Unbreakable Spirit. Over the course of working on 2 different books together, Lisa and I became close friends. She told me that one of the best things to come out of our relationship is the scale of 1 to 10 question. After first hearing about this technique, she instantly began to use it with her son, Jelani, who was 11 years old at the time. She'd been feeling really guilty about being separated from him so much for work. First time she asked him to rate their relationship, Jelani gave it a 7. Not terrible, but could sure be better. Taking a deep breath, she asked, what would it take to make? He said, I want to see you more. I want to travel with you. Immediately took this to hear and committed to find a way to make it happen. First, she enrolled him in a private school with the condition that Jelani be able to distance learn while he traveled with her. School administrators said, we've never done that before. I told them, I'm excited that we get to co-create a new possibility. School agreed to try it, and for the next 2 years, Jelani traveled with her whenever he wanted to. Show him her travel calendar 6 months in advance, and he'd choose a place that he wanted to go. Eventually, he said, Mom, I'm ready to stay at home. and handled that particular part of improving their relationship. When Jelani was 17, he asked him the 1 to 10 feedback question while they were watching movies at home together. He said, "Oh, Mom, again." He repeated the question. I rated a 9. He asked, "What would it take to make you go from a 9 to a 10? Sat there and thought. Finally, he said, "I can't think of anything. It seems so weird to say it's a 10. That would make it perfect." I said, "Okay, so if it's not perfect, what would make it a 10? Alani said, "All I could think of is sitting on the couch watching movies with you, our feet touching and cooking with you. We're doing all that now, but it still feels weird to say it's a 10. In that moment, she felt her heart swell up with love. She told me, "I don't care how many stages I stand on, how many millions of people that I speak in front of, how much wealth I generate. The most important thing to me is the relationship I have with my son. Beyond price." Gave me a tool to monitor my son's needs, his desires, what he's getting, and what he's not getting. For that, I'll be forever grateful. I had to look really brilliant with full effort. Virginia Satir, the author of the classic parenting book People Making, probably the most successful and famous family therapist who ever lived. During her long and illustrious career, was hired by the Michigan State Department of Social Services to provide a proposal on how to revamp and restructure the Department of Social Services so it would serve client population better. A few days later, she provided the department with a 150-page report, which they said was the most amazing piece of work they had ever seen. This is brilliant. How did you come up with all these ideas? He replied, "Oh, I just went out to all the social workers in your system and asked them what it would take for the system to work better." Yeah. Listen to the feedback. Human beings were given a left foot and a right foot to make a mistake first to the left, then to the right, left again, and that was Buckminster Fuller, engineer, inventor, and philosopher. Whether we ask or not, feedback comes to us in various forms. It might come verbally from a colleague, or it might be a letter from the government. It might be the bank refusing your loan, or it could be a special opportunity that comes your way because of a specific step you took. Whatever it is, it's important to listen to the feedback. Take a step. Take another step. You're off course. Take a step in a direction you believe may be on course. Listen. Listen externally to what others may be telling you, but also internally to what your body, your feelings, and your instincts may be telling you. Is your mind or body saying, "I'm happy, I like this is the right job for me"? Or, "I'm weary, I'm emotionally drained, I don't like this as much as I thought. I don't have a good feeling about that guy." Whatever feedback you get, don't ignore the yellow alerts. Never go against your gut. Doesn't feel right to you? Doesn't feel right? It probably isn't. Is all feedback accurate? Not all feedback is useful or accurate. You must consider the source. Some feedback is polluted by the psychological distortions of the person giving you the feedback. For example, if your drunk husband tells you, "You're a no good," or expletive, that is probably not accurate or useful feedback. The fact that your husband is drunk and angry, however, is feedback you should listen to. Look for patterns. Additionally, you should look for patterns in the feedback you get. As my friend Jack Rosenblum likes to say, if one person tells you you're a horse, they're crazy. If 3 people tell you you're a horse, there's a conspiracy afoot. If 10 people tell you you're a horse, it's time to buy a saddle. Point is that if several people are telling you the same thing, there's probably some truth in it. I resist it. You may get to be right, but the question you have to ask yourself is, would I rather be right or happy? Would I rather be right or successful? I have a friend who would rather be right than be happy and successful. He got mad at anyone who tried to give him feedback. "Don't you talk to me that way, young. My business and I'll run the way I want to. I don't give a hoot what you think. My way or the highway sort of person." Wasn't interested in anyone else's opinion or feedback. In the process, he alienated his wife, his two daughters, his clients, and all his employees. Ended up with two divorces, kids who didn't want to speak, and two bankrupt businesses. Who's right? Don't you get caught up in this trap, dead end street. Feedback have you been receiving from your family, friends, members of the opposite sex, coworkers, boss, partners, clients, vendors, and your body that you need to pay more attention to? Are there any patterns that stand out? The list, and next to each item, write an action step you can take to get back on course. What to do when the feedback tells you you failed. When all indicators say that you've had a failure experience, there are a number of things you can do to respond appropriately and forward. One, once you did the best you could with the awareness, knowledge, and skills you had at the time. Two, acknowledge that you survived and that you absolutely cope with any and all of the consequences or results. Three, write down all the insights or lessons that you learned from the experience in a file on your computer or in a journal. Read through this file often. Ask others involved, your family, employees, clients, team, others, what they learned. And make a list under the heading Ways to Do It Better Next Time. 4. Make sure to thank everyone for their feedback and their insights. If someone is hostile in the delivery of their feedback, remember that it is an expression of their level of fear, not your level of competence, level of incompetence, or unlovability. Feedback, whatever is applicable and valuable for the future, and discard the rest. Up any messes that have created and deliver any communications that are necessary to complete the experience. Any apologies or regrets that are. Do not try to hide the failure. 6. Take some time to go back and review successes. Important to remind yourself that you've had many more successes than you've had failures. You've done many more things right than you have done wrong. 7. Regroup. Spend some time with positive, loving friends, family, coworkers who can reaffirm your worth and your contribution. 8. Focus on your vision. Incorporate the lessons learned, recommit to your original plan, or create a new plan of action and get on with it. Stay in the game. Moving forward to the fulfillment of your dreams. You're probably going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. Dust yourself off, get back on your horse, and keep riding. Comic here, you thought you were here. So you guys on TikTok because unfortunately the situation is still not. Still relying on the HP camera, and all you have to do is go to my YouTube right now, Stormer Show, to see what black screen. I'm working on that though. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I have a camera on order finally and a microphone arm. Hopefully my days of being not seen or heard are over. I'll try to come up with some fresh ideas for you all here on the show. I kind of talked about it at the beginning. I can try to bring back piano streams. I will make no promise or guarantee on that though, because yeah, it's very much rooted in my ability to directly on my skills. I think are just barely good enough to show on TikTok at this point. I don't think I'm proficient enough to be able to take song requests live. If and when I do, I can bring back the piano string. But I could have more, for example, just chattings. I could have more audiobooks or audiobook series that I have here on TikTok. They have like little birdhouses here with books filled in them. I've got some Kindle books. I don't know, the thought briefly passed through my head today of maybe starting a podcast. And if this show gains enough traction, I could try something like that and just Joe Rogan, like invite people to talk on my show and call it. I don't know. I don't want to necessarily all my ideas. If there were people who would listen, I would have a podcast. I would just talk about any topics on the news and how I feel about different subjects and topics. And like I said, if I got popular enough, what I could do is I go on the show and then we ideas back and forth, old fashioned discussion. Those are just ideas and possibilities, folks. I keep trying to champion the cause. I keep trying to put message out there. Please remember to pay it forward, like, comment, support, subscribe, like, comment, share, subscribe, donate, Bentley Summer Show if you'd like to support the show. Any and all support is appreciated. I don't feel like you are obligated. It is only for those with the willingness and um, even just subscribing on YouTube or following on TikTok. You don't have to donate. Okay, next time though, in Principle 20, we'll be covering the chapter Commit to Constant and Never Ending Improvement. Commit to Constant and Never Ending. This time it was use feedback to your advantage. We're about halfway through the book. Maybe in a week's time, I'll be able to showcase the new tech. My YouTube show will be dramatically improved. You'll be able to see me on YouTube just as you're seeing me now on TikTok. And that way I can have a nice, solid level of quality on the show, which is what I've been shooting for all along. Give you an excellent experience. Overall quality show with quality content, quality program. That's what I'm after. There you have it. I will be back shortly after this with more Horizon Zero Dawn. For that, thank you so much for watching. Sleep tight. Have a good night. Thank you for any and all support that this show should receive, and for watching.